What's up, world, and welcome to the All Radio Show. This is where we discuss issues pertaining to the socioeconomic system and how they relate to everything. Why and how are the fundamental questions. Answer them enough, you get to the truth. I'm your host, Alex, and welcome back to the second part of my discussion with Samat Abletimov. Some of the topics we'll cover on this episode are what is a podcast and how they work, how we're all on different frequencies and receptive to different things, why thinking differently and without labels is so important, and some of the ways conditioning of the mind is done. So, Sam, why don't we start with your inquiry about what a podcast actually is?
So, is it like your own channel or stuff? I mean, how do you do these things?
Yeah, well, essentially what this is, a podcast is, in a sense, it's like a radio show, but people pull it. Instead of tuning into this station, you pull this station. You see what I mean? You say, I want to hear this station's episode, or I follow this station so I get, all their shows. It's basically what it is. It's just an audio show.
Content based, yeah, in a sense.
Oh yeah. Well, and again, people with the technology are becoming the creators. You used to just have TV and what was on it. Now more and more people are not only creating their own content, but that's what they're viewing. They're not turning on the TV. They're going to media sites and
but they still have to search it on Google.
Like a show like this podcast.
Yeah.
No, you can, but there's a lot of different services, basically apps that are just for podcasts. See, so it will be there. You can search for it there, or on any of the apps, podcast apps, you can follow. You can basically subscribe to shows. So, right, if somebody subscribes to this show, right, anytime a show comes out, they will get notified. They can listen to it. Yeah.
How are you going to distribute this app?
Well,
this is Android platform.
It's both. Basically, the way that it works is you have to have a hosting service, which it's just like a home. If you can picture like a home, it's your home. So that's where you edit your stuff, where you upload your shows, where you do all your working, and then that host that you of course have to pay or whatever, but they distribute your content to all the podcast apps and things like that. So when I upload this show, for example, and it'll go to all the apps. So it doesn't matter if you have app A or app B or app C, you're gonna see the show. Yeah, it's a really cool thing, man. I heard about podcasts, and I didn't really know much about them. And the more I started to understand what they were and stuff like that, I just got more and more interested. And I thought, it's something I want to do, at least to kind of start something. I just felt like
I just want to know how this apps they get distributed, like how people download them based on.
Well, there's
there's
certain apps that are specific for podcasts. Okay. And podcasts are like what we're doing right now. It's just an audio show. And so there's some apps that are just for that. Right. So if say you download that app, it will just link you to all the podcasts. But then you have some like like
It's like a Netflix system, yeah?
in a sense, but Netflix is one entity. YouTube is one entity. It's just one company, right? But with this, you have a host and you can use a different host company. It's just a company that has a hosting service. And then that service will distribute automatically to
like your content will just appear on their programs, yeah?
yes,
It's one of their programs.
Right, because the different apps, that's what they do. They pull like every day or whatever. They check all.
Yeah, and like people subscribe according to their categories, yeah, in a sense, like what they like according to the content.
Right. You can subscribe to anything. You can subscribe to a comedy show, a news show, society show, a health show. Right. And then when that particular show puts out a new episode, it will
they get notification.
Right.
Yeah. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
I got it.
Yeah, and it really started with Apple, which is because it was done through like the iPod or whatever. That's where the name podcast came from. So it kind of it sort of started.
I think this is basically Facebook works like that now. I think you get notifications and for the groups that you are subscribed and stuff like that.
Right. Yeah, they work in similar ways, of course.
Yeah, I think it's a great system. Yeah.
No, it is. And that's what I mean. No, that's the way of the future. People, whereas before you had to turn on the TV and at a certain time, or you had to watch something you didn't want to watch to see something you did want to watch. Now it's on demand. So you can only listen to what you want to listen to. You can only watch what you want to watch.
And you got like 350 million people in the U.S. Yeah, you got a lot of audience in a sense.
Yeah, well,
that's a good one.
Yeah, man, exactly. Exactly. Well, it's actually a worldwide. I don't know worldwide, but it's most of the world where you can receive podcasts. So it's not just the United States. But that of course was one of the appeals to me. Also, is the audience is as wide as it wants to be, so, and I don't know, man, I just got to the point where I just felt like I had to do something, I mean, like we've been talking, kind of the overwhelming feeling, yeah,
man, you're just doing what you enjoy. That's the right thing to do.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. I've done a lot of things in the past and music and stuff. And that's something I learned
Sometimes you just have to release what you got. Common sense stuff that you want, that you want some messages out so that people hear you, listen to you.
It is.
That's an urge,
Exactly. Everybody wants to be heard. And I do, but honestly, for me, man, it's the bigger picture. I mean, I would like people to listen.
Yeah, man. Sometimes that's right. Yeah, sometimes you really have some stuff in your heart, like you can't actually release to anyone because they don't get it, and you really need some other people who can understand it and discern it, appreciate it.
Exactly.
So they understand it at first, and that's exactly. I think I could feel you because not everyone can understand such stuff.
Right.
And they're not interested also,
Yeah, of course.
And you can't release to these people. You can't talk to these people because they're blocked, They're blocked by their mind, I think. They're blocked by their knowledge, I don't know, by their consciousness, because
cognitive
I
dissonance.
think people are like channels, yeah, in a sense.
Yes.
People are like channels. I'm those channels are open, they will get it. I mean, your message, your signals will be penetrating to them.
Exactly, Sam. You're exactly right. And that's actually...
It's like an activist mind in a sense,
Oh, yeah, it's definitely activist. We're both activists.
Yeah, it's something that it's really hard to explain to any other people because their worldviews, their understandings, they just, maybe they don't just get it by heart, Yeah, they may be understanding and getting by their minds, but like on an emotional level, they will not get it because they don't have the like necessary knowledge inside them
Exactly, Sam.
that can make them discern it and appreciate it.
And what you're saying is very important, and it's actually one of the biggest reasons why I decided to do this, because I've always been the type of person that I am, basically an activist, basically outspoken, always looking and speaking the truth. But what I have found in my life is on an individual case-by-case basis, when you talk to people, 9 out of 10 times, like you just said, they're not receptive. They oh yeah, I know what you mean, and then next, and then they start talking about something else. You know, they don't see it like that. And a lot of people, like you said, they really don't understand it because
they're on different frequencies.
Exactly,
their frequencies are lower than yours. You know, they will not understand it. Decrypt your message. You know?
Exactly, Sam.
They don't have the system to decrypt your messages because they're on a different frequency.
You nailed it. Yes, 100%, man.
Yeah, man. I think like everything works on a frequency level. I mean, our consciousness is it's an energy. You know, it's an energetic being.
It's 100%.
Our souls. I mean, in a sense, like.
No.
And we vibrate on a different frequency.
Exactly.
And sometimes some people who are vibrating on a same frequency, they will get it automatically.
Right.
They feel it.
Right.
You know, and you don't have to explain to these people that what you're doing, how you're doing, and they'll just sense it automatically.
Exactly. Yeah.
Their frequencies and your frequency will be matching.
You nailed it. That's exactly it, man. I mean, and that's truth, you know. I mean, that is exactly, and we know these
common
things.
Sense in a sense.
It's common sense to when you're on that frequency, when you understand it, but that is how it works. I mean, we are all
you
energy.
automatically get, you know, you don't have to explain to these people, you know, scientifically, or how they say it, like logically, scientifically, you know, they don't need these proofs or evidences.
Right.
Stuff like that, you know, they just get it.
Yes, exactly.
I think there are certain things out there which are above this scientific stuff and logical stuff, you know.
Mm-hmm.
These things are noises just on the way.
A lot of things.
And I'm really into, you know, are you getting it? I mean, I'm really interested not only in activism, but, you know, I'm interested in things that I think this, like, on the edge, like, you know, this hypnosis stuff, like, and you know, this frequencies,
psychological stuff,
parallel universes, aliens and UFO, these things, you know.
Oh yeah, I'm very interested.
I'm reading a lot of things now.
Yeah. And
there are certain people out there, you know, it's former scientists, which are finding out things that are absolutely amazing, man. Like, they're actually saying that you have this consciousness, like spiritual being, which is just, you know, above all these material beings. And it's like, you know, you're not the body. You are in your mind, your brain. Like, you're not your brain. You are the soul, which is sitting on a brain. You're sitting, like, you're using your, in a sense, like, you are a spiritual being. Yeah, we all are spiritual beings that come from somewhere. You know, like a alive consciousness. That
exactly.
We somehow get into this 3D reality. We just use our bodies as like an interface.
Right.
Like, you know, like a suit to be able to interact and feel. I mean, to be able to interact in this.
Yeah, it's a medium. Our bodies and minds are a medium.
To feel. Yeah, it's like a medium, yeah. To be able to feel the human emotions, all the different kinds of emotions that we feel, I mean, as a human being. And these souls, they just come with a purpose in mind, you know. They don't get just born by chance, you know. It's like these souls, they pre-plan everything, because I was sensing, like, we're not just the bodies and material beings, and, like, you know, and it makes life more interesting. Like, yeah, you feel
100%.
You feel more enlightened.
Yeah, because you realize we are the universe. We're just a part of it, you know, and it's a
Yeah,
high.
you're just an energy which is just wandering around the universe, and you're just, and for the time being, like temporarily, you are interested in becoming the human on this planet, and you
Right.
want to see like how it is. You want to experience it.
Mm-hmm.
That's amazing.
Yeah, yeah, it really
So,
is.
have you heard about Dolores Cannon? I think she
No.
was like hypnotic, I mean, hypnosis psychotherapist in the United States, and
Okay.
she actually opened, like, she makes hypnosis of people, and she died actually
Mm-hmm.
in 2007. And she practiced like for 50 years, and she has written a lot of books about it. Uh, Convoluted Universe. Sometimes you can actually, if you want, you can search. There's some books,
What was her name again?
free books, I think. Dolores Cannon.
Kenan.
Yeah, Dolores Cannon.
Okay. Well, for myself and the audience.
Yeah, on the YouTube you can actually search up, and she says a lot of interesting things. Oh my God, you'll be just amazed.
Yeah.
And what about Bashar? This Darulanka, these mediums, yeah, contactees.
Yeah, I'm very into all that too, and we know, you know, the same way you can put electrodes on somebody's head and see the electricity when it fires in the brain. You know,
Yeah, man, just imagine, like, even if you are a materialist scientist, yeah, like,
mm-hmm.
just for the time being, just imagine, like, your brain is just an organ, just made out of flesh
Right.
and axons. You got neurons, but what actually goes on in there? There are electrical currents inside it, yeah?
Yeah, 100%.
I mean, what are these electrical currents? Like, maybe it's the essence of it. Maybe it's the essence, that energy which gives you this soul being, in a sense, like, maybe we are not the brain itself. Like, why? Because in science never claims something is wrong, or science never says that this is 100% like this. Science just finds out what is what. And I think we're slowly finding it out,
Yeah, science
that we're
isn't a
not the
definite.
brain. Yeah, science is just a tool in a sense, like, that we use. It's like a spade, that we use to dig up the hole. And until we find out something, we never claim that we know 100%.
Well, that's why, to me, the so-called scientific way of thinking is the way you should think about everything. I mean, you always question it.
Yeah.
You basically take the known information about that particular thing at a certain time. You come up with the best hypothesis or idea about it. Then you do experiments to see, and you keep calculating. It's a constant evolution, and that's what that makes science so different than other things like religions, because they're set in stone. You have the same beliefs from thousands and thousands of years ago, and they've never changed. How the hell can that be? With all the information, all the things we've discovered, but science is always changing, because science says, I'm wrong. I'm wrong all the time. This is just the best possible result and answer up to this point that we can come up with.
Yeah, it's a tool which is based on falsifiability. Like,
falsifiable. You nailed it.
Falsify it anytime you want it.
Exactly.
Yeah. Like, science is falsifiable in a sense. Like, yeah.
That's exactly the word. Yeah.
Or like, if you have better tools, if you have better theories, hypotheses, you can falsify the theories that we have now. Yeah, and you're free to do it.
Right.
I think that's the best tool out there. Like, it's like an instrument.
Yeah, it's the most logical way of looking at stuff and doing stuff. That's what I mean. You put us.
But sometimes people get stuck. Some people get stuck at this calling scientific and science.
That's what I was going to say.
They get stuck on this belief system, only the science knows and all the other things are shit.
Well, yeah, they do.
And sometimes these people are stuck. I mean, they just confuse everything. Oh, it's unscientific. I will not trust it, or I don't like it. They just push it away, in a sense.
Well, that goes
They
back
just push
to
away the new information.
Right, the words.
And they have to. They just need this. They just need this label, like scientific. They need some more common sense, like, in a sense, like
open-mindedness.
they have
I
to be
think.
able to look at the bigger picture.
Right.
Yeah, I mean, yeah, because some people they say, oh, I mean, UFOs and this soul beings and consciousness, they're not unscientific in a sense, and they just push it away.
Yeah, I
They
know.
just they don't research about it, these things, And I'm not one of these people, like, I like digging, just
no matter where it
just
takes you,
more,
right?
Like, yeah, I mean, I don't care about scientific and unscientific. I like common sense in a sense. Like, I like digging things up deeper into the rabbit hole in a sense.
Mm-hmm.
Because sometimes, I have this, you get it sometimes. You're like, it's like it gives signals, and you have this, how they call it? A feeling deep inside you, like
an intuition.
Sensation,
Mm-hmm.
intuition. Yeah, because, I mean, any scientific person, like any scientist, the person who believes, you still have to have an assumption, yeah? So
Right.
a hypothesis to be able to claim something and work towards it. There's basics of philosophical thoughts, like, like what is it? Like, what does it? Or you have to be able to keep asking questions.
Right.
And not getting stuck on labels,
Exactly.
Scientific or unscientific.
That's how
most people get stuck at this,
That's how I look at anything, Sam. No matter what it is, whether it's scientific, whether it's political, legal, universe, I look at it in the way I think. Yeah. If you really want to know, like, the truth or the answer to something, you look at it independently.
It should be, man. Yeah, you have to be open-minded.
Well, you have to be open-minded, but you look at it independently. If they're reporting on something saying this or that, right? If you say, well, that's not scientific, or well, that is scientific, or well, what do you mean?
Cuts out everything,
right?
Some people,
you're categorizing it instead of just seeing it as a independent truth or not truth or information.
It's like a belief system,
Right?
It's like a belief system. Just imagine, like, in some Christian family, sometimes kids start talking about sexual stuff,
mm-hmm.
and their parents say, "Oh, it's unchristian," They have to talk about these things. And I mean, these people are like that. They say, "Oh, it's unscientific," and then they just cut out the interest. They just cut out this intuition,
Right.
That's bad. That's the enemy of science itself. I mean.
Yeah, well, crushing creativity is the worst thing you can do to anybody. I mean, that is kind of what separates, in my opinion, humans, is that we can create. We have that ability where, like this, for example, this show was non-existent before we did it.
Yeah, and Alex, you have this scientificism, like your new movement, just like a materialist movement, which labels everything, like when we get, like, in masses,
right?
You have, today we have this bureaucracy of scientific, like, science belief system, in a sense, like, they say, oh, this climate is scientifically true, like climate change, and and you begin this claim, and academicians, like, and scientific researchers, on a quote unquote, they begin preaching you on, oh, you must respect what the climate change movement is telling you,
Right. Yeah. Don't question.
I hate these things, Yeah, I mean, it's a cult, man.
It's really becoming a cult. Yes.
And that's what happened with the Greta Thunberg movement. This, like, suddenly you have Democrats, liberals pushing Greta Thunberg face, and they're just claiming that like everybody must buy it, everybody must believe in it, they must accept it, and they must be taxed like for their carbon footprint.
Right.
I think it's like raping the science, man. It's like it's a little strange. It's an agenda.
Exactly. Everything turns into an agenda.
And then, of course, and we know, and I can understand, I can see that there are some elites behind this cult, and they're paying, they're funding it because it's an agenda and they want something out of it, and we know what they want out of it. They want carbon tax plus capture trade quotas. They want to sell it, and the most important of all, I think it's the control mechanism, man. They want to control all the countries around the world, and they want to control how much carbon they can release, and you have to ask permission,
right,
for releasing carbon, It's like a control mechanism. It's a control system. And most people don't recognize it, man. They don't realize it because they have been sold this idea of, scientific. It's scientific,
Well,
and most people get stuck in that.
They do, man. I think, and I know you would get this too, but for anybody else, I think that is, again, one of the major fundamental flaws with the system that we live in, is that you never are, as long as we live in the system we live in, you can never trust anybody or anything because you don't know what is behind it.
Yeah.
It's easy for you to say because you have a belief of, I mean, let's face it. It's not like 9/11 where you can show video evidence and things like that. You essentially believe what you believe, but it's easy to understand why nobody knows what to believe. I don't know if it's real or not because I understand that there's money behind it and this and that, but what if it is real? So you don't know, and you can never try. You can never.
There is an interest group. There is an interest group behind this scam. It's like it's behind this agenda, let's say. And do you remember this Al Gore and Leonardo DiCaprio guys?
Yeah.
They were doing this basically the same thing before Greta Thunberg.
Right.
They were the face of this movement.
The Inconvenient Truth or whatever was the movie that they came up with.
And guess what? Leonardo DiCaprio is a billionaire. He's a millionaire. He flies on a private jets all the time. And he releases a lot of carbon himself,
But, yeah, exactly. But he cares about the environment.
Don't care about it, I think. Yeah.
I know, right?
And Al Gore is another rich man. And I think he probably releases as much carbon as many people combined. And this information is not given, man. This information is hidden.
Well,
it's being hidden intentionally.
Pretty well known that more industrialized people and nations put off a lot more carbon footprint than the poor people. I mean, that's
man.
Yeah, So, yeah, man. I just think in general,
just don't wonder. Don't get startled. Don't get amazed if someday these people will come to you and says, okay, for every fart you do, you have to pay carbon tax.
Oh, I'd be broke.
You are releasing carbon.
I'd be broke overnight, man.
And
don't tax my fart because I'm done.
These things are real, man. I will never wonder if these people will do it.
Well, if they can.
Because it's coming to that.
Oh, I'm sure. They're going to put sensors on your butt and figure out how much you're releasing.
They will be selling apparatus. They will be selling devices which will be measuring this shit.
Yeah, right.
How much you fart and how much you breathe in, how much you breathe out. And guess what? People will be accepting this shit as long as they will be persuaded by the scientific research.
Right.
Scientific scientists. everybody will believe, man.
Well, right.
It's like,
It's the same
I think it's a
everywhere.
belief system in a sense.
100%, Sam. It's the group mentality. It's the same way. If I say something, maybe a lot of people won't believe it, but if somebody, a white guy with a suit and tie says it on TV, they're going to believe him. Or if you say American behind it,
Yeah,
or freedom
and
behind
if
it.
it's if it's like California University or UCLA or Stanford University research just found out, you have to you have to decorate it.
Right, right. It gives it
And they just put
credibility.
some labels.
Exactly. Yeah, it gives it
And I don't
credibility.
understand why. People are so conditioned in our system, so conditioned. Like it's like a Pavlov's dog.
Mm-hmm.
Like they just condition people's brain, I think, can get conditioned too quickly to believe any shit that the elites want them to believe. And I just can't understand this fallibility of people. How can they be so ignorant
Again, I think
and not
it's,
see these things?
yeah, I really think it's built up from birth, but at the same time, like I said earlier, I think at some point, everybody, if you're a conscious, caring, and so-called thoughtful, open-minded person, you have to start thinking and questioning for yourself. So in other words, if I'm brought up in a strongly religious family, up until 10, 20 years old, whatever, I may believe that, but at some point, whether or not you keep going or not is irrelevant. But to not start questioning it, and that's something I actually wrote in my introduction to this show, that all these laws and systems, well, when you don't question
people
things.
hate that, people hate these kind of people.
They do.
Oh, are you a maverick? What are you? Like, are you a maverick or outcast? Like,
You're a Top
are you a
Gun.
mad? Like, why are you asking these questions? Why are you not making money? Why
Exactly.
you don't have job?
Oh yeah.
They preach you on that shit. They say, oh, get a life, get a job.
Right.
Do you have a lot of time? What the hell are you doing with your time?
Man, Sam,
just work on it. Do make money.
You sound exactly like some of my coworkers. I'm not kidding you. And because basically, long story short, I really wised up. I changed things. I became even more minimalist. I started saving and money and that type of stuff. So that was a couple of years ago. And I got to the point now, about a year ago, where now I only work my slave job a couple of days a week. And that frees me up to do this and other things that I actually enjoy and enjoy life. And I can't.
Yeah, man, you're enjoying your life. You're releasing all of what's inside you. Yeah.
Yeah, that's what you got to do. But I can't tell you, man, how many people at my job said exactly what you just said to me. They said, well, so what are you doing, man? You got another job? That's the first thing they would say. Oh, you have another job? And I said, well, yeah, if you call it a job.
What do you do for a living? Yeah.
Yeah. Like that's
What's
everything.
Your social status.
Exactly. Like that's everything.
How much you earn.
Right. If you're not working, making money, then what are you doing with your life? But that's conditioning.
You are of no value to that person. Yeah. Like if you don't earn money, if you don't have social status, then people will not approach you because they think that they will not get any value from you.
Well, yeah, partly
people's attitudes. They just.
It is that, but I think it's also how society is portrayed, so to speak, where money supposedly means success. So if you see me and I'm driving a beat up smoky
it's not only
car,
about money, man. It's like people are so conditioned from so many sides.
That's
not
what
only
it
money,
is.
Man. It's like it's your social status. It's how much you earn. It's like, and it's creepy, man. It's creepy that we have been turned into this like a Pavlov's dog, people are being conditioned to think, even by the media. They're being conditioned to like, to cry, to smile, even. They're being conditioned to. They're controlled in any way. They're being controlled by the elites in all other ways.
Hey, let me say something about what you're saying to prove to people. If you watch a show to prove that the conditioning you're talking about, people don't even realize it. But if you watch a comedy show that has the laugh track, right? So if I make a joke and it's like, ah, ha, 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 and then watch that same show without the laugh track, when it's just the people talking without the laugh track, it feels totally different. You perceive it totally differently. You're like, wow, this is lame. This isn't funny at all. But if you watch it with the fake laughing, it seems funny a lot of times.
Like an idiocy in a sense. Yeah, man.
Yeah, I'm telling you, man. That's one way you can see, whoa, I see. This shit is conditioning me. It's making me think this shit is funny, and it's horrible.
Yeah, and they put laughing audio behind, you know?
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. Right. It's called laugh
when
track.
They're doing this TV. Yeah, it's like you are conditioned, like you're expected to laugh at that moment.
Right, exactly.
If you don't, then you are a jerk. In other people's minds.
You're right. You don't have a sense of humor. Well, another thing.
Damn it, this guy didn't laugh? Is he a jerk of some kind or what?
Exactly. Yeah, he must not have a sense of humor, right? Well, another thing that they know through experiments, which to me makes perfect sense, is that people are a lot more receptive when you're, say, watching a TV show or a movie, because you're in a comfortable state of mind. You're not really questioning the information as much. So in other words, if I walk up to you and I say, hey, this A, B, C, and D, you're going to say, this is this guy saying A, B, C, and D. But if you see it in a show with lights and sounds and, A, B, C, D, you're like, that's all right.
And plus with your favorite actors,
Right, exactly. With the
credibility.
You got it, Samat. See? So that's another way that people don't even realize they're being.
That's a whole new different level of conditioning.
Right. It's because your guard is down, and you're not sitting there consciously thinking, my guard is down, I'm being more receptive and I'm letting this stuff sink in more. But that's what's happening. And they understand this because that is the human mind, as complex as it is, it's actually in a lot of ways very simple as far as how it perceives. Yeah, right. As far as how it perceives and receives information and stuff like that and what it does with it.
We're almost like a dog, man, on a psychological level.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
We can be conditioned just as like the dog can.
Yeah, well, again, man, it's funny you're saying that because I was in a store the other day and they're running an ad in the store talking about their rewards program, because you know how all of them now have a reward. So, right, you spend $100, you get a % back or whatever. And I think about that, and that's exactly literally what it said at the end of the ad. Was the female, all happy, of course, said, there's nothing like a rewards program. See? And I thought exactly what you just said. It's like a dog. It's like giving a treat to a dog. Hey, look, if you keep shopping here, look, we'll give you a little treat back. And you're like, hey, that's all right. I'm okay now, And yeah, and you question it less. You keep going on doing it. And
humans can be domesticated just like all other animals that we have domesticated.
Well,
that's the trick.
How different are we, than animals? I mean, we all came up from this
we are animals.
We are animals, of course. Yes, 100%. Well, we're mammals by definition, but
at least our bodies are.
Right.
Our bodies are animalistic.
Well, even like you were saying back at the beginning about evolution or lack of evolution. And, look at, like you said, about how a lot of people still think, with the guns, you needed the guns because this is how. Well, we're at a totally different time and age in life, in the world. But a lot of people still think in these old ways, and.
Because the psychology is, but yeah, this conditioning is still there. Psychological.
Well, it's gotten
psychological conditioning because the people remember it,
and they associate with it, and You got to think independently, man. That's the key. Look at everything independent of itself, no matter who says what, even something I say or you say or anybody says, you take that with a grain of salt, so to speak. You question it. And if you concern,
So, I mean, the $1,000,000 question is, how in the hell are we going to change this? Maybe it's going to take a longer time.
well, it will, Sam. And
Like, how are these people around the world are going to regroup into some kind of an organization, or I don't know, like, just like this corporations. I think, like, this corporations in a capitalist system, I like their methods of regroupings,
yeah.
These corporations are group interests, yeah? They're interest groups.
Mm-hmm.
Like you have like a lot of people which have organized themselves into a corporation, a company. And the only purpose they got in that is profit maximization. Like they want to earn as much money as they want.
Mm-hmm.
And that's what they do in the monetary system. Like, but I think in this monetary system, I think these people who think the same, whose interests are the same, I think they have to regroup into structures like this. Yeah, it may be for profit or non-profit, but I think people have to regroup into some kind of structures to be able to, I know, to become like a power, I think, some kind of like political group, I don't know, to be able to play with the games of the system, and somehow try to be more successful in spreading ideas or doing some things effectively.
I think
You need some teams, I think, some groups.
What you're saying about the basically the corporations and the groups, kind of how they operate, is that how they take care of, right? That they take care of the people.
Yeah, that's their method of
right, which
that's
makes
their method of surviving in the system.
Right, and that makes people allegiant to them.
Yeah, because the people who are working in that corporation or organization are getting paid money,
right,
dividends,
and they're getting getting vacation, they're getting health insurance.
Yeah, I mean,
they're essentially getting
successful in it, and like quote unquote,
mm-hmm.
they're getting like quote unquote successful in that system,
right,
in the monetary system,
and that's what makes them, serve the company, and and feel that allegiance.
It makes them want to serve in that company because they understand that if they serve better in that company, it's better for them.
Right.
Because their salaries will go up, or their dividends will be going up. They will have more vacations.
Right.
They will have more day offs and stuff like that. I think like any interest group in the monetary system has to regroup to some kind of an organization or corporation, to be able to stay afloat and not to die off,
If you fast forward, of course, to, hypothetically, if everything was changed in the world, because that is a natural human response, of course. It's about survival. It's about wanting to be okay and those types of things. But that same mentality would happen. But instead of you individuals looking out for individuals and looking out for the company or corporation that is essentially taking care of them, you would do the same. You would have the same drive and desire, but you would do it for society. Everything would be done as a whole. So instead of that individual and that corporation profiting, that's society
the problem
would profit.
Here is like these individuals, if they do something alone or just few of them, they will not go far, You will just lose all your interests, your energy. You will just, because every person has got a limited energy in a sense, yeah? Like,
yes.
If we regroup into some kind of larger corporation or company, and we get the same like-minded people all around the world, we might be doing something much better. I mean, we might be doing all the things that we do much better. We would be having more resources to do other things.
Right.
We would be like, helping other people. I think regrouping is the only way in the system, because any other way you'll get crushed by the system, because you have to still keep the survival mode, because you have to keep earning money, because your survival, your body needs energy, food, housing, bills, and stuff like that. You still have to do that.
Exactly.
That's what's keeping us all captives in the system, in a sense, And we understand that. Right.
Yeah, we do. And no matter, like, the people like us that are awake and understand, you still, that's the second part that you understand. Okay, I get it, but I'm still stuck. And it's definitely has to be a regrouping, and it definitely has to be basically you have to play the game to get out of the game, in a sense. I mean, I think we know that too, because
you still have to play with the rules of the game, because in any other way is blocked,
Right, exactly.
Any other way is blocked by the system.
Right, exactly.
It's an algorithm that you can play with.
Yeah, right. You got it. I mean, so you still have to some way essentially sell something or make some form of money or profit or something like that. But it's what you
still have to have a self-preservation mechanism, and corporation is a self-preservation mechanism.
It is
in action, Like all individuals, like we have egos, we have basic needs: food, water, clothes, housing. It's our self-preservation mechanisms. Like, we need these basic things to be able to survive, and we still have to earn money and play this game because we don't know any other way of surviving,
Right.
We still have to buy these things from other third parties.
Right.
And thus we need some self-preservation, I think, organization which will be doing some profit earning, or I don't know, like service doing. You have to create value in this system to be able to survive, in a sense.
Right.
Like you still have to do something to interact with the system.
Yeah, it is tricky because
that's the $1 million question.
It is, and there's companies and stuff doing really good things now and trying to put most of their.
But you would enjoy working with people, like-minded people, wouldn't you? I mean,
yes, of course, yeah.
Every day you would be going to job like you are going to a party, like
right?
Because you know that the people who you're going to interact in that job are interesting people. They understand you very well, and you enjoy, working with these people, side by side, instead of working with people who don't get you.
Oh man.
I think we have to regroup. It's like an organization which will have the like-minded people working in the same direction.
Exactly.
Like a for-profit, a corporation, organization. Why don't we do it? I think many people, individuals, entrepreneurs, they do it like this. They collect like-minded people around themselves. And they do the job.
Yeah, they do. Well, again, and you can do the same thing several different ways. It's still tricky because you have to, in a sense, you have to maximize profits to, get off of the ground and build.
That's
and those
inevitability of the system.
It is. Yeah. It's inevitable. Yes.
You still have to create value and money. Yeah. Unfortunately, we have to agree on that.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. No
matter how we dislike that.
If something is the truth, I will say it's the truth, even if I don't like it. I don't like that, but that's definitely the truth. And
I think Peter Joseph, he hates the system, but still he's saying that he must do some stuff to be able to keep going.
Yeah. Yeah, that is.
I think he's. I don't. We don't hear from him. I think what he's doing out there.
Well, as far as making money, I don't know what he's doing, but I know that they're working on that Interreflections film.
It's been like 3-4 years, 5 years.
It's been a couple years. Supposedly it's near finished, but You know, and again, I don't know him like that to know what he's doing on a day-to-day basis, but I can speak from experience, just even trying to do this show and only working, you know, a couple days a week. It's still very hard, you know, when it's not your job, you know, when you're not getting paid to do that, and you know, and you have another basically job to do. And then of course you have life, you know, you want to enjoy yourself, do things, you got to eat.
Why
cook.
these people? I mean, these people, yeah, around this Venus Project, Zeitgeist Movement, and other groups, I think these guys have to regrow. I think that way it will go better because everyone is suffering in their own small environment.
Well, first of all,
it's really hard.
It is. And first of all, I agree with you. That's kind of one of the ideas I keep in my head is to basically identify with all these groups, find out their core values sort of thing, and try in some way to connect them. But on the other hand, it's even that is tricky because I've personally recently ran across some things about the Venus Project. As a matter of fact, I am going to try to interview some of these people that have worked with them. And I've read some of their blogs and articles about why they stopped working.
Yeah, they hate zeitgeist people. Yeah, I mean, I know.
It goes back, right. It goes back to the ego, you know, and it's a tricky thing.
They think they're more intelligent. Yeah, they think that they should be the ones who should preach all these things to us.
It's hard to
others and stuff.
It's hard to
understand.
It is probably that, at least partly that, but as with most things, it's one of a couple things, but you really don't know exactly which one. It probably
those people are cultists in a sense. Yeah, in a sense, like they just do what the organization says, and they don't have the other ways of looking at things. They just follow someone, you know. They have the authority, and they do what they say.
Well, that's what 99% of jobs do. I mean, when you go to a job, you walk into a dictatorship. You do what you're told. You don't go in there and say, "Hey, I got an idea today." They're going to say, "Okay, good for you." Now do what you've been doing because that's what your job is. You know, so any job.
But at least, you know, it could be like, you know, the like-minded people I mean, it still would be interesting job environment, I think.
Yes.
I think this Google, Facebook, these guys are much more, I mean, they have turned their jobs into interesting interaction, I think. Yeah, you know, in the Google headquarters, what they do, like they have a very good system of working. Like
they do.
They can sleep, they can eat whatever they want there.
Yeah.
They may just do whatever they want, and they got very spacious like areas they go.
Right.
And they enjoy like their jobs.
And the positive, optimistic side of me says what you're saying, that hey, look, you know, it's so much better and more relaxed, and they finally figured out, you know, how to treat people.
And they're very successful in what they do.
And ultimately, right, that will be the end result.
They have created so much value. I mean, they have increased their company value so much. It costs billions now. I mean, hundreds of billions.
Yeah. Well, you know, their search engine is really their claim to fame, you know, because they get a percentage of every click, basically.
And most of these people, working on Facebook and Google, they're open-minded people. I mean, they're democratic, they're liberal, in a sense. They are these kind of people, at least.
They are, but then
libertarian.
So compared to, you know, more oppressive, closed-minded people, that's good. But on the flip side, you still have
open-minded. Yeah.
You still have, though, kind of the control aspect. You know, I mean, that they're controlling, you know, or censoring.
That's the inevitability of the system, man.
It is. I mean, you're right.
That's not going to change.
Yeah, you're right about that. That is
because they still have to obey the government's tax system.
Right.
and all the bureaucratic laws. I mean, they still have to abide with the laws of the country that they're living in.
That is true.
I mean, this control mechanism comes from the governmental system in the United States, not from them. I mean, not from the directors of those corporations.
Right. Which goes back to, that's one of the dilemmas in the current system is even if you have a company, no matter how small or huge they are, even if they're trying, I mean, you can do good things, but it's controlled. At least
those people working on Google and Facebook, yeah, they're still happier than we are, I think.
Oh, no, yes.
They're enjoying their lives more than we are.
Well,
they can actually enjoy their job, like they can sleep in there.
Mm-hmm.
I think, I mean, they're happiest people out there, I think.
Oh, yeah, I think so,
too. Doing a good job of that.
Yeah, and who you work with can make all the difference in the world and in the environment, not only on the productivity, but your personals.
Yeah, and they're like-minded people working in the same space, man. That changes a lot. I mean, that changes everything.
Of course it does, yeah.
Because you're saying that you're working in a job environment that you don't enjoy, and your colleagues do not understand you.
Right.
That's making you sick.
Oh, Samat, you have no idea. I mean, I've been trying to say since you said that I can vouch for that firsthand. It's totally, when I go into my job, I dread it. I dread the job itself is what it is. It's not that bad, not that good, but it's everything that I'm surrounded by. It's the, made up.
Yeah, because you can't just understand.
Yeah, and everybody's just playing along.
You're there,
Right. Everybody just plays along. Nobody, and everybody talks about the same thing. That's the point. It's not new ideas. It's not creative idea. It's not anything. It's the same thing over and over.
The same old monotonous jobs. Yeah?
It's monotonous job, but it's monotonous conversation. Right. They repeat the same thing over and over. Every day you go in, will say the same thing they did yesterday. The only difference is they'll use a different person's name or a different, the certain words are changed to protect the innocent, so to speak.
Yeah, man.
But damn story's the same.
It crushes the soul, man.
It does. It totally
crushes. Yeah, that just crushes emotionally.
It really does, and that's a key point. I think most people, or a lot of people, the majority, are unhappy in their jobs, and that's what they deal with, and it's like it just makes you feel trapped, and it does crush your creativity and your wonder and all that. So yeah,
I don't know about the United States, but have you heard about Japan? How these people do in Japan, these workers?
My understanding it's very rigid, but
you have people there, in Japan. Like in Japan, in Japanese society, all the emotions must be kept secret. They don't have to show emotions.
That's what it is.
And they have been conditioned like this from their childhood to do that. I mean, if they show a little bit fallibility or a little bit weakness,
mm-hmm.
they will be called names and labels, and they don't feel good about it. To hide that, they just kill themselves. People are committing suicides and droves because they don't enjoy the life they live. They don't enjoy the monotonous jobs they do every day.
Yeah.
And sometimes these people work like 23 hours job, 20 hours every day. And sometimes they just die, where they're working.
It's sad, isn't it?
It's a tragedy, man. It's a tragedy. And sometimes some Japanese people go to forests and they just write letters, to their, boss or relatives.
Mm-hmm.
They just write in this piece of papers that they're fucking tired of this shit, of this repetitive shit that they do every day.
Mm-hmm.
And they just kill themselves like there in the forest. And you have like tons of corpse in the forest, in the Japanese forests.
Wow.
It's crazy, man. These people are young people, 20-something, 30-something. And these people are seeing that this shit is not ending. This profit.
That's what I was going to say. Anybody
jobs and stuff like that.
Who gets to the point of suicide, it's because they feel there's no way out. I mean, that's...
Yeah, because they see that they're not needed. I mean, nobody needs them.
Right.
They're doing their meaningless, repetitive jobs every day, and it just tires them up, you know, it just crushes their soul, and they don't even, I mean, yes, plus their mentality, yeah. They're conditioned not to show emotions.
Yeah, so they're bottle it up.
Like it's not acceptable. Yeah, and what can they do?
Mm-hmm.
It gets so fed up. I mean, they just get so fed up that they just kill themselves, you know. They don't. That's tragedy.
Yeah, it is.
And sometimes you get people, especially children in Japan, like they call themselves hikokomori, I think. Hikomori, or what they say. And these people, these kids, you know, they just shut them off in their own rooms, and they never get out, you know. They just
like cage them in the room
from the society. Yeah, and they dislike everything. It's like a tragedy, and you have millions of people like this. And I think like sooner or later, the whole world is going to turn like Japan. The whole world is going to turn. We're basically, I mean, this capitalist society is going to lead to that. Like everybody will be working jobs they don't enjoy just for just for the sake of paying the bills.
Yeah, well, it already happens.
I mean, I think, yeah, we're already living that life.
Yeah, I mean, that's what I started to say. There's people, of course, in America that commit suicide over the exact same thing, but overall, it may not be as bad as Japan as a whole, but essentially everything you just said, it's the same thing here. I can't speak for other countries, but I've talked to a lot of people. I've known a lot of people in my life, and they all pretty much express the same feelings that you just said.
And these individuals, they feel the indifference of society towards them.
Right.
They know, they have felt that nobody gives a fuck about them, you know.
Mm-hmm.
Nobody cares about them. And they understand it, and they say, like, they ask themselves, like, if the human life is this, you know, I don't want it.
Yeah, they do.
From the inside. And
right.
And that's very tragic, man. Like, if the elites of this world, this Bilderberg Club elites, you know, the people who actually govern everything, they own everything.
Right.
If these people cared about these people, you know, I mean, we would have a whole different world. Everything accessible, human basic needs.
Oh yeah.
Unfortunately, living in a world that we're wasting millions and millions hours of human labor to bullshit, you know.
Right, totally.
To creating bullshit products, to creating bullshit services. We could use these hours and millions of hours of human labor for creating common good, benefit everyone.
Exactly.
I mean, we would have turned the planet into paradise very, very quickly. I mean, nobody is focusing on that.
Yeah, that's what I was going to say, that, you know, people need to realize that, again, the answer is already here. It's not that we don't have enough labor or enough money or anything like that.
Yeah, we know the common sense. We know what needs to be done, but nobody is doing it.
Right.
Especially the governments, the people that we trust the most, the state, presidents, and prime ministers,
the trust,
royals.
That's the problem, Sam.
They're failing us, man. They're letting down the humanity, man.
Totally.
They're fucking the humanity, man.
Oh yeah, totally. And you know, the higher up you go, you got to be psychopathic. I mean, a lot of those people are psychopathic.
Yeah, and that's another thing, man. That's another thing. Yeah, these elite clubs, and these people. Yeah, you have to know, like, the belief systems of these people, where they come from, and they trust the secret societies, Illuminati, Rome Club of Rome, Trilateral Commission, Bilderberg Club, Council on Foreign Relations. These people are psychopathic, man. They have belief systems that are just fucking stupid.
Yeah. Oh yeah. Well, they have the grandeur.
These people are part of us. These people are part of our society. I mean,
right.
You think they come from another planet?
Yeah, I know what you mean. Right.
They came out from our families. They came out from American families. They came out from European families.
Exactly.
We forgot about the rest of the society. We forgot about ourselves, our belief systems, our indifference, our ego. I think the universal basic income is the first step towards this. At least you have to start from some point, and I think it's the universal basic income.
I've just started to say that another guy that I've spoke with on the show, that came up too, the UBI, Universal Basic Income, and I think it's good for transition, like basically near the end.
Yeah.
But to short of that, it's not good, because that's just one side of the coin, is what people get. But then what they take through taxes or the prices of goods and services, they can alter that as well. So, you could say universal basic income, everybody make $50 an hour. Okay, but then they're just going to raise the price of other stuff. So you're still back to square one. See? Or tax you more, because they're going to say, well, this is how we're going to pay for universal basic income, is tax you more. Well, then hell, you're taking what you're giving me anyway. So as far as a transition, yes, I could see that. And it probably will be something like that, because you have to have some way to kind of account for everything. It's almost like a measurement system at that point, to say, okay, look, you've got plenty of food already. You're not getting more because you don't need, or whatever, something. But that's the only place, in my opinion, that I think UBI is really feasible. Otherwise, it's just, what are you doing? You're just keeping the same corrupt system in place. It's not going to work. And on that note, we're going to wrap up this episode. I want to thank my guest, Samat Abletimov, for being with us. I'd like to thank you all for listening. Hope you enjoyed it. Hope you got something out of it. If you go in the description, you should find a link to my show's homepage with my contact info. Please feel free to email, follow, share, comment, like, subscribe. I welcome any and all feedback or support. And I hope you'll tune in next time for another episode of the All Real Show. We are